It's the Bachelor lifestyle. It's the Bachelor
So you do hear that?
lifestyle. Can I steal you for a minute? It's my first impression rose. Prime back to Jay Stewart breaking down all the shows. It's the Bachelor on ABC with Chris Harrison. You crying in a limo sent home. How embarrassing. The most dramatic ever.
I like the way Brad in New York says Chris Harrison with his New Jersey accent. Welcome back. You are listening to we missed Chris Harrison, by the way. You are listening to the Bachelor Lifestyle from theballerlifestyle.com. I know people. Oh my God. Oh my God. I just ate a meat stick before the show and a little bit of cottage cheese. It's my pre-show snack protein. Never mind. I am joined now as always. My name is Brian Beckner, by the way. I am joined now as always by the great Jason Stewart. Jason, how are you, buddy?
Hello, everybody.
Hello. Yep.
I'm a big fan of cottage cheese.
It's so good for you.
It is. It's great.
A lot of bang for your buck. A lot of protein, very few calories.
Yes.
You know, how do you take your cottage cheese, Jason? Because this is important.
Well, when I was working out, when I was weight training,
Yep.
in my early days,
Yep.
I would mix in some almonds with
Oh,
the cottage
really?
cheese. Give it some texture. It's like
Crunch.
super protein.
A lot of fucking calories in those almonds, though, buddy. You kind of counteract. I mean, I guess if you're lifting, you don't really care. Here's what I do. I sprinkle a little bit of everything but the bagel seasoning and tahini. Mix those two in there. You got a great flavor. Great flavored.
I have a
Cottage
feeling I would
cheese.
like that. I got to try that.
Yeah. Tell Christina to hook you up. Tell your super hot girlfriend, Christina, you want that.
I will.
Jason.
I will.
So look, we didn't cover the, and people don't even expect us to anymore because usually I get a lot of DMs inundated with DMs. I got 10 phone lines. They're all lit up and people are saying, where's my Bachelor lifestyle? But when it's the women tell all, I get zero messages. Nobody's expecting to hear anything during the women tell all, but now we're back. We've had our fantasy suites, our overnights. Super fucking boring. This might be the dullest Bachelor season in the history of Bachelor seasons. Jason, tell us what happened this week on The Bachelor.
It's so dullest. It could be Washington Dulles Airport.
Nice.
Dullest airport.
Yeah, it's the dullest airport. That's great.
So, a couple of things. The women tell all. I did a quick, fast forward through to the Carolina fireworks.
Yeah.
One thing to update the listeners on: even the Carolina fireworks were unfulfilling. Carolina is a mess. She's still defending her position. There wasn't a great job of holding her accountable. It was just whatever.
What'd she need to be held accountable for? She was right. She was in the right.
Remember when she did what's her name pretty dirty? When she revealed a private conversation with the dude that went sideways. But no. I mean, Carolina was pretty genuine this season, but the women hated her.
Yeah, they did.
And I just don't think they did a great job of relitigating her plot. So
I'll be honest, I missed it, and it started to play. It started to play when I watched because I had to quickly because we're recording a little bit early here. And listeners of this podcast, by the way, just a little housekeeping here. If you only listen to this podcast, check out this week's Baller Lifestyle podcast featuring special guest Jason Stewart. As we haven't done it yet, we're going to do it after this, but it will come out before this, and we're going to be playing off. It is the NCAA tournament, and we like to do a tournament of our own every year for the NCAA tournament. We're going to do the worst song. What is the worst song? So by the time this comes out, we will have determined the worst song. And if you only listen to this show, but you love Jason Stewart, you want to hear more of him, check him out on the Baller Lifestyle podcast, where we will be playing off this week the worst song. What I was going to say, Jason, is it started to play, and they started to do that thing, and they're like, welcome back, Alicia and Becky and Victoria. And I did that thing where I was like, who the fuck are these people? I don't remember. None of these girls. They could bring in all new girls, and I'd be like, oh yeah, those are the ones from this season. Zero memory of any of them. That's how this show works.
And by the way, you bring up the Baller Lifestyle podcast this week
Yeah.
with the brackets. Has it already been a year since we did the oldest looking young guy?
Yes, it has.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know.
Wow, how time flies, huh?
Yeah,
Time just fucking
congratulations to the
flies.
bunkers, by the way. We did an oldest, not to spoiler alert, it was a year ago. We did the oldest looking young guy, and Archie, Carol O'Connor, Archie Bunker, won the men's bracket. Who he was 47 years old or something when they at the peak of that show, which is wild. And his wife, Edith Bunker, Jean Stapleton, took the women's bracket as she was playing Edith Bunker in her middle 40s. They were both in their mid 40s when they made that show. Insane.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, that was a year ago.
So the Fantasy Suites episode,
Yes.
it's always an interesting one. The show through the years has had to navigate this thing through different political parties, right? So if you even think back to 2021, how much different are things now than they were in 2021? Things that were popular politically then are unpopular now. It was like 4 years. It could have been 40 years ago. So it's like the show has had to navigate these weird political waters. They stopped calling them fantasy suites.
Yep.
They started calling them overnights.
Yep.
They never ever referred to sex on these dates until just in recent years.
That's true.
And I want to thank Katie, who won Zach's season, for reminding all of us of how badly Zach fucked up his season.
Unreal.
Zach was the one who had the great idea of saying, okay, we're going into fantasy suites. I'm not going to have sex with any of you. And it's my choice. Me as the man, the alpha, I'm not going to have sex with any of you, assuming each of you would have sex with me if I wanted to. Only to last one date. And then he had sex with somebody.
And then he slut shamed her, basically. He outed her to the next girl. I mean, it was just, it was pure Servite virgin behavior.
It was. It's this combination of like Gen Z meets a show that you want to be famous on, and that's such a combustible combination because Gen Z is just so clumsy when it comes to social norms. I was thinking this.
Tell me.
Everything that they do is seen through like the lens of like, how would this look on social media? Any way we could put this on our stories. If not, then maybe it's not worth doing. It's amazing. So fantasy suites, we have 3 women. We have the leader in the clubhouse, right? Latia, who lives in Utah via Wyoming. She's a Mormon.
And Hawaii. She's from Hawaii as well.
Yes.
She's Fijian.
If you wonder what she looks like, she looks like Carissa Thompson in blackface, 24/7. Juliana, our New England find with the brand new boobs.
Mm-hmm.
And then what's the third person? Is it Zoe?
Zoe.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So we got to dive into each of these. Now, the format of the show is this. Look, they have another date. They do an activity. They can't really talk about deep things until uneaten food, where they have to share their trauma. And then they get usually an invitation to spend the night together. Okay. Yep. First up this week is Juliana. She forewarns us that she's kind of skeptical of these fantasy suites because her trauma in her life is that I want to put it in her terms. Okay. Her last dude, quote unquote, had a bunch of chicks on the side.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah. She's like, I got cheated on a lot. Mm-hmm. Which, hey, look, I mean, I see her. I believe her. I believe women, but I'm just, I mean, the guy might have a different story about that. That's all I'm saying.
So but
I believe Juliana.
Before we got to Juliana, by the way, I got to point this out. They're in the Dominican Republic.
The DR.
And Grant, the subject of the show, cannot remind us too many times that he played pro ball in the Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I finally got around to Googling this. Is
God,
there a
thank
pro
God.
league in the Dominican Republic? The answer is yes. And the answer is there are 8 teams
Yep.
that play between the months, the long season of September and October.
Who has played in that league? Any?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh.
I have no idea.
Okay.
But they play September and October, and there's 8 teams in the league. So when he says he played pro ball, I guess it's officially true. But this is probably the least pro of professional sports.
It's a low rung. It's not the Greek league or the Israeli league or the Spanish league. I think is like the best in the world. Even the Chinese league, where Starbury, had a whole second run, and a whole bunch of guys whose name Jeremy Lin, a whole bunch of guys, they go over to China and they get rich playing ball in China. This ain't that. One thing I want to remark upon before we go any further is Grant got a fresh dye job. It should be noted. He got it fresh. He dyed. He went to his local CVS or Rite Aid, Walgreens, Duane Reade, depending where you are in the country. And he went over to the shoe polish aisle and he said, "Oh, give me the Kiwi number 7 jet black," because that's his color. And he just went and he got a roller and he got a paint roller and he dipped it in there and he went and he got that hair nice and black. It was freshly blackened, in case anybody didn't notice and wants to go look and rewatch the episode.
Blackened. I want to say that was the opening track on Injustice for All.
Yeah, nice great book. Album. Underrated album, by the way.
Just one last note on the Dominican Republic League. I just thought about this.
Yes.
8 teams. They play September and October. It's called the Dominican Republic League, and then the subtitle is Guys That Didn't Make the Baseball Team.
I did think about that because they were in the DR, and I'm like, oh, right, we're gonna, you know how like when they go places, they have like a local celebrity. So I was like, oh, Mariano Duncan's probably going to show up at some point, or Tony Fernandez, or
Wow.
What?
Those were 2 very deep pulls for Dominican players. Well done. That was awesome.
Yes. It would have to be a shortstop. Omar Vizquel was Venezuelan, but they're like one of those guys. Who was the guy who could fucking rake? He was that
one Dominican guy that could hit really well.
Yeah, yes, he hit his way off the island. He was on that 97 Marlins team. He played shortstop.
Edgar Renteria. He by the way, it was pointed out to me. It was pointed out to me recently on a sports show that I do.
Yeah.
We were featuring 1997, and I always thought that Edgar Renteria got that game-winning hit off of Jose Mesa. It wasn't.
Yeah.
Jose Mesa, I guess, blew the lead before Renteria stepped up, and Charles Nagy gave up the game-winning hit.
A starting pitcher. Never a good idea. Unless his name is Oral Hershiser or Walker Buehler. You don't want to bring a starting pitcher in relief. It's they're finicky, Jason. They have a certain way they warm up. It takes them the whole day to get in. They go, oh, you can't talk to him. He's got to eat his fucking chicken. He takes a nap at 4:00 to 4:02. The game starts at 7:05. If the game starts at 7:07 because there's some weird ceremony before the game, it throws him off. He's not going to have a good game. Or he needs to work it out in the first inning. You can't do that if you bring him in the fucking 9th inning of the World Goddamn Series. Charles Nagy.
Well, everything you just said is contradicted by the fact that the Dodgers' last 2 World Series were closed out by Walker Buehler and that wife beater Julio Urias.
Yes, that's true.
Okay, so back on the show. So they're playing. They picked up a bunch of Dominican locals, and Jesse and Grant are running 2-on-2 against these guys. And as it looks by the edit, they're just like running it up.
Yeah.
Jesse and Grant.
I'm telling you, Jesse can ball.
Well, they had to show Jesse make at least one shot, and it was an actual shot. So
yeah. He could shoot. He's better. Hold on a second, Jason. Oh no, this is NBA players from the Dominican Republic. I was gonna say there's been a lot of good players.
Yeah, no, there isn't.
But Al Horford didn't play in the Dominican League. He's just of Dominican heritage. Okay, continue. I'll find some notable players.
So the first activity that Juliana and Grant do, it's something that all women love. I'm going to get my hair done. I'm going to get my makeup done, spend hours and hours getting my shit ready.
Yep.
And then as soon as we go on a date, put a helmet on me and get me all dirty, like right away.
These dates, Jason.
It was a 4Runner. Have you ever been on a 4Runner?
That's not what that thing is called. 4Runner is a Toyota vehicle. It's a.
So what do they call it? For what?
They call them a side by side. I think is the in
four-wheelers.
Yeah, industry term. Yeah, it's one of those little carts. It's like a Rhino or a Can-Am something. Yeah. They're stupid. Worst fucking date imaginable. Like what? You can't talk. It's bumpy. So your bladder's doing a thing. You have there's no windshield on the thing, so there's actual dirt in your actual mouth as you go. It's so stupid. It actually makes me insane. I felt for Juliana in this situation because you want to look your best.
But they did the 4-wheeler thing through dirt and everything else, so that Grant could deliver this line. The analogy for love with 4-wheelers, Brian, I don't know if you knew this. Just like relationships, it has some bumps in the road. And also some crazy turns. And the key is to do them together.
That's great. He came up with that by himself.
And you must have, yeah.
Yeah.
So they're done 4-wheeling, and he acknowledges that she is very hung up on the fact that she's got helmet hair after she probably spent 4 hours on her hair. And she's got a thing about it, and she's insecure about it. But he also says, in the little lunchtime after the 4-wheelers, he says, the last time I was here was when I played hoops, and my grandmother is from here, and she recently passed away. And the woman that he says he's told her he's fallen for, and they're a week away from proposal.
Yeah.
The woman, Juliana, says, "Oh, I'm sorry. My grandmother just passed away. Oh, I'm sorry."
And she was Dominican. His Dominican grandmother. Yeah. Well, and that is a lot to kind of drop on somebody that you barely know. There is no like real nice way to, you can't, it puts the other person in an awkward position where you're like, oh, I'm so sorry that you went through that. You can never really say enough, but you still have to acknowledge it and not say nothing.
And I think the cynic would also say that if you're a week away from marrying someone, you probably should have already known that.
Yeah.
That was my point. So,
especially considering she probably died right before he started filming. That's a good point, Jason. Absolutely.
So uneaten food is where trauma is shared. Uneaten food is where they're going to get the invite for the overnights. And she has a lot to share. She wants to talk about this guy that was cheating on her at every turn. But before she does that, she says something funny. She's like, I've had a lot happen to me. This guy cheated on me a lot. I'm kind of broken, and I'm trying to rebuild that trust in monogamy and men. And I'm thinking, I'm sure most psychologists would agree that the best way to, if you're broken and you've been cheated on and you don't want to be hurt, is to go on a show whose sole design is to make you look bad as you're trying to date a man.
Yeah, that wouldn't help.
Yeah, it's a great great therapy session for someone trying to get their life back together. They get the invite. Jesse invites them to an overnight in the room. Juliana says yes. This is everything's going the right way for Grant. There's the next morning where she's got like bedhead. She asks a weird question.
Hold on. The shoes. There was a shot of the shoes. It should be noted. I looked up.
I saw that
because I was working on something else while I was doing this. I was making the playlist for our the Baller Lifestyle Worst Song contest, and I was making a Spotify playlist so I can play snippets of the song while watching The Bachelor. And I said, "Oh, hold on. It's after the date." And I went. I looked up because I'm looking for two things, right, Jason? I'm looking for those shoes. The shoes were visible. It was like a gray platform. She had those. That was the first thing they showed. Then I'm looking for, hey, anybody brush their teeth yet? Okay, that's the number one thing I'm looking for is, and you almost always see the shoes. You've never seen any evidence that anybody brushed their fucking teeth before they start making out at 7:00 in the morning in a hotel room in the DR.
Yeah, no, that's your thing, man. That. I don't blame you for having it, but that's your thing.
Thank you.
But they confirm with each other they're falling in love with each other. They had a great night. It was a success.
Yeah.
I'm sure they consummated everything. She asked him this is a weird question. She said, "Am I a good sleeper?" I've never heard
she
that
said,
one.
"Did I snore?" Yeah.
But everything looks good with Juliana. She basically admits to him and on camera that now she's going to start getting in her head and spiraling because he's got two other women to have sex with before they see each other again. So the next, I forgot to tell you this part.
Tell me.
Daisy from Joey's season met with Juliana before this date to give her advice.
This is so awkward. Yeah.
They have a different former cast member give advice before every date. Yeah. The next person up is Zoe. Okay.
Yeah.
Zoe had almost no time with the guy during the season. She had no one-on-one date. The only date she's had with him is before Hometowns, where they did some weird modeling thing where they modeled wedding garb. She has, I had to look her up, Rachel. Rachel is the Hawaiian from Joey's season. I guess she made it to Fantasy Suites. I don't remember at all.
I'm so glad you're bringing this up. She's the one that had her hometown in Rancho Cucamonga where she was not from.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
She had some kind of trauma. I can't remember. Like she was teased or something about being Hawaiian was her thing. Mm-hmm. But when this was going on, tell me if this happened to you, because I looked up and I'm like, oh, we're consulting with the expert. For the life of me, I thought this was Latia's fantasy suite date, and I'm like, oh, who's she getting advice from? I don't know who this person that it is giving Latia advice, and it was Zoe. And then it took me a while to realize, oh, it's Zoe is actually the contestant, and the other one was on a couple last season. Yeah. Confusing.
Yeah. No, I get that. Rachel has zero to get advice to give her. The only thing she has to add is, I also, out of all the women at Fantasy Suites, I also spent the least amount of time with him, and she lost the season. So that's probably foreshadowing.
Yeah.
They go on a date.
She also said she had a wedding dress date with him. They both had wedding dress dates. So it was obvious why she was there to give advice.
So they go on a yoga date and they're not into it. It's talkless yoga. They can't speak to each other. And then they're doing yoga moves, uncomfortable yoga moves.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's in the DR where it's fucking hot and humid.
Yes.
Yeah.
Neither of them like it. They do a lot of looking into each other's eyes. Over uneaten food, they both admit that they hated the activity.
Awful.
But,
so sweaty.
Uneaten food was basically these two people that don't know each other trying to get to know each other.
It was great.
She's like, I don't know a whole lot about you. Tell me something about you. And we're a week away from engagement. And he's like, well, I like to play basketball. We know that. He likes hip hop. He likes to play basketball. He likes hip hop.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking this is some kind of punchline to a bad racist joke. And then he's like, and my favorite color is blue. So this is the kind of level of conversation we're dealing with a week before engagements here.
Well, then she does something very fucked up because he goes, my favorite color's blue. And look, this guy is dull city. And she goes, what's my favorite color? Dude, they don't know each other's middle names. Like, he doesn't know her fucking favorite color. And he goes, educated guess, by the way, because he had just said that his favorite color was blue. Mm-hmm. And she said, what's my favorite color? And he takes a shot in the dark, but it's the smart answer. You have two choices here. He says blue, which makes sense because he just said blue. Now, blue is no woman's favorite color. So that's like, Grant should be on to that right there because no woman has ever had the favorite color of blue. The right guess is pink because many women fancy pink as a favorite color. It's the chalk. It's like clear Gatorade in the Super Bowl. You just go with that. It's the best odds. She comes out and says maybe the most fucked up thing I've ever heard anybody say to another human being. What does she say? Teal. If your favorite fucking color is teal, which I'm not convinced it is, under no circumstances are you ever allowed to ask another human being to guess your fucking favorite color because that just makes you an asshole because no one is ever going to guess teal. You just want to say teal. So instead of saying guess my favorite color, just announce loudly my favorite color is teal. So we can move the fuck on from you having the stupidest fucking favorite color in the history of fucking Pantone.
I will say this: this podcast has gone full circle. Because what color was Edgar Renteria wearing when he got that hit off of Charles Nagy?
Then remember next year they traded the whole team. And they sent him to the Cubs or the Giants? No, he was on the Giants.
I think Renteria stayed. I think he stayed through the 2003 championship, but he was the only one who stayed. They got rid of Sheffield. They got rid of Bonilla. They got rid of Al Leiter.
Al Leiter, lefty.
So I want to read this because it's great.
Tell me.
So Grant over uneaten food as they're just getting to know each other was like, when I look at you, I see a survivor. And she's like, okay, yeah, I got you. Yeah. Then he says this. He says this because she was adopted. She was adopted, and then she had a fallout with her adoptive parents.
Yeah, that seems to happen a lot.
He's the son of a drug addict, so they really kind of their similarities are their backgrounds here, and
he really brings that up quite a bit, by the way. And also, we saw his dad earlier in the season, and then in this episode, on the next date, he drops that his dad's in rehab, so it's like hasn't been going very well for dad apparently
in New Jersey. Yeah. But he says this: I see a survivor. Then he says, a survivor who doesn't allow herself to get knocked down. Okay. Followed by this. And when you do get knocked down, you get right up. You get right back up.
Well, hold on. Does she not allow herself to get knocked down, or does she get knocked down and then get back up?
Yeah.
Precursor, allusion to what's coming up later when Tub Thumping is nominated for one of the worst songs of all time on the podcast we're going to do after this.
Yeah, I like that. So it's like, make up your mind, dude. Does she get knocked down or does she not? Like, make up your mind. Is he going to shit or is he going to kill us? You know? Um. Oh, you tell me. You tell me what happened here.
Okay.
I'm guessing it's not a mix-up in continuity. I'm guessing there's a great story behind it.
Yeah.
Maybe when Reality Steve joins us after next week's episode, he'll tell us there's a great story. Zoe and Grant agreed to go to the fantasy suite, and for the first time in the history of the show, the next shot was not of them waking up in the morning.
Yes.
It was of them walking on the beach with a picnic basket, saying, "We're walking on the beach the next morning. We had a great night together."
Yes.
Something's going on here.
Yeah. I say there was no fantasy suite. I'd say, look, Zoe is she's along for the ride. She's trying to be on TV. I will say this. Zoe is just a completely unmemorable character. But she's pretty attractive. And when she reads the note from Jesse, should you choose to forego your blah, 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 she looks at Grant and she goes, "I'm down." And I'm like, all right, okay. Hey, Zoe, what's up? So look, I didn't watch to the end of this episode, but I'm going to just go on. I have a pretty strong feeling that Zoe is not one of the final two women on this show. That's just a guess. I don't spoil it, Jason. We don't traffic in spoilers, but I just have a strong intuition that Zoe does not get a rose at the end of the show. But she's like, "I'm down." She knows she's not getting a rose, Jason.
I think that's it. I think that Grant's strategy, or the show's strategy, to bring Zoe to the final three. Again, I'm going to repeat this. I'm going to stick with this theory, and maybe Reality Steve will confirm it next week.
Yeah.
They did not know while they were filming this that the Bachelorette was going away for a year, and they're positioning people.
Smart.
They're trying to give them good edits, and I don't even know if they did it an overnight. I think Zoe was like, "I'll take the trip to Dominican. One more week might increase my Instagram following, but I'm not having sex with this guy. We could be walking on the beach the next day and refer to some night." Because they never really got into any specifics about the night.
They did not spend the night in the same room. These two do not know each other. They barely had any interaction. It actually would be just wild to think of them spending the night. I mean, maybe if they got wasted, who knows? But it just didn't seem real to me at all, and that's smart of you to point out.
So Zoe's done, and the next date is Latia. Latia is the complicated one. Latia is the one that he has professed that he's fallen in love with. She has also reciprocated. She's the Mormon who has said out loud she's apprehensive about this date because she is not going to have sex with him, and she's uncomfortable with him having sex with anybody else, and that's a big hang up for her. Well, they bring Katie from Zach's season on to give her advice, which I will give the show credit. I almost never give them credit because it's a despicable show with despicable decision makers. But Katie was the one that kind of lived through this. Again, she was told by subject Zach, "Yeah, you know that whole thing where I said I'm not going to have sex with any of you? Yeah, I said I had sex with the woman last night."
That's right.
He said this on her overnight date. And somehow she still won the season. She stuck with him and was like, "Okay, we're good." So she actually has some pretty damn good advice for Latia. The show never has these moments because the first two experts before the dates were just an exercise in like bringing former people back, and they give empty advice, and it's pretty superficial. This is actually pretty good advice from Katie. Look, you have to concentrate on your time with him and not worry about anybody else's, and tell him don't refer to the other two. This is going to be about me and you.
Yeah.
Because the mistake that Zach made was he brings up the other woman on my date. Like that was such an intrusion on my intimacy with him. I think that this is actually one of the rare moments where the show got it right. It rarely gets it right, but it did. So So the exercise or the daily activity for Latia is ziplining, and I would say, I would, I would say zip lining. What is that?
I'm getting texts. I forgot to turn off
Oh my
put on the
God.
do not disturb. My bad. Sorry about
I
that.
thought that was you telling me we got 90 seconds, like it was an Oscar
We do.
sheet. Like I've got
Yeah.
90 seconds left in this podcast.
We're pretty close.
So Latia was like, I don't do zip lining, even though I'm from Utah, which has like 3 or 4 national parks.
That's true.
Wyoming, she's not an outdoors. She's not an adventurous person. So yeah,
she's Fijian. Yeah.
And she hates it, and she thinks she's going to either throw up or shit herself.
It appears that she gets the shits. She keeps talking about she's having problems with her stomach, and it could be that. Look, it could be the plantains, Jason. It could be whatever they're feeding them down there in the DR. These dates are fucking wild. Like what? Like why are we ziplining? Why are we going off-roading? Why are we doing hot yoga? Just have a date. Like go out and get some drinks. Walk on the beach.
So they zip line. It looks like she's about to puke, but she never does. They have an uneaten food, and she just plainly tells him, "Look, I don't like thinking about you with other women, and these fantasy suites are in my head and my feelings. I don't know if I could do this, but I want to focus on us, and I want to talk about us, nobody else."
Yeah.
Grant was like, "Yeah, I'm good with that." And then she said, just when I thought she wasn't, she was like, "Look, I want to have respect for myself. I want to have peace with this. And I just want to let you know, sex is not on the table."
Yeah.
It's one of the rare moments in the show that's said out loud. And he could not have handled it any better. He turned sex is not on the table to, I respect that. I think the world of you. Nothing's going to happen. And by the way, I just want to tell you that I love you. It was like one of the strangest exchanges on the show. And she was like, "Whoa, I love you too."
Whoa.
So we have a couple that has expressed love for each other.
Yeah.
And there's already an episode left. So that creates a problem.
Yeah.
They have an overnight where they obviously didn't have sex, but they had a great time talking.
Do you think maybe they did soaking, though? Because the Mormons are known to soak, Jason. There could have been soaking involved.
Everything short of intercourse. I'm guessing, sure.
Yeah. What about anal sex?
What
about anal sex? You think any anal sex was had? Because they'll do that, I've heard. Yeah.
Maybe not.
Okay. All right.
Maybe
fair.
not.
Mm-hmm.
So they end up doing it. They wake up in the morning. They say, "We still love you. We still love each other. This is great." They go on their way.
Yep.
This is my thing. I wonder what she's going to think on the watch back when she sees him obviously probably have sex with Juliana. Who knows what happened with Zoe? I want to know what happens on the watch back.
This has happened before.
Yes.
Remember that little bitch, Nick Vile,
of course,
told Andy Dorfman, how come you don't love me? If he's like this, and this guy is fucking loved by women for some reason, and he goes like this: if you don't love me, then why did you make love to me?
Oh my God!
What a little bitch!
One of the most unmasculine
slut shamer.
One of the most unmasculine things ever said on TV.
Disgusting.
If you don't love me, why did you make love to me? Oh,
disgusting. Man. What a little bitch. I hate that guy.
So, rose ceremony time. Jesse talks to Grant. To their credit, they weren't doing any sports at this time. They weren't doing any highlight or anything.
Yeah.
They were at the rose ceremony. Grant tells Jesse, "I don't know who my wife is." So again, if you're Latia and you've been told by a dude, "I'm in love with you," and you watch this back and you're like, "Whoa, you were an undecided at this rose ceremony?" Yeah. So first rose is Latia. She always gets the first rose. So she's in. The second rose, with very little suspense, goes to Juliana.
Yep.
Zoe was the easy goodbye, the easy person to not get a rose.
Yep.
The goodbyes were very unemotional. So this is the second week in a row. So Dina, the attorney from Chicago, very unemotional. Zoe, it just speaks to the level that they don't really know this guy. They knew they weren't going to marry this guy.
Yep.
And they're making a play for The Bachelorette, which they think is filming.
Yep, but it's not. The joke's on them. But now Zoe's going to have to go and be boring on the Bachelor in Paradise. You know, like she's not suited for that. So it comes down to Latia and Juliana next week. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that it's Latia, but look for some fireworks to happen, Jason, because remember last season it was Devin, and then what we find out right afterwards? They never saw each other again, and this happens a lot. And it could be that Latia sees this. Look, she doesn't have sex with him. She could be setting her up to be like a Mormon, like motivational speaker. You know what I'm saying? This is like The Bachelors might not be in her play. Like being on Dancing with the Stars might not be her thing. She might have another angle where she's going to go around giving talks at Mormon temples for the rest of her life, you know, which is smart. Okay.
I like that.
Is that it, Jason? Yeah.
I think that's it. I will leave the listeners with this.
Tell me.
Just when you thought the episode was ending, they showed this scene where he goes back to his family and his drug-addicted father is there.
Oh, I didn't see this.
With his mother and his sister. It was a strange editorial decision by the show where they had him telling basically his family, I have no idea who I'm going to marry.
Ooh.
And the father, who is or is not high at the time, says, son, I know you will make the right choice. So he gave very cliched advice. And that's where we end it. Juliana or Latia, and we'll see you next week.
Okay, for Jason Stewart, my name is Brian Beckner. This has been the Bachelor Lifestyle from theballerlifestyle.com. We will see you next time.
But I cheated, logged on to reality, Steve. So it's the Bachelor lifestyle, we live in it. Yeah, it's the baller lifestyle, we live in it.
Okay, buddy, leave that. Just leave that. Wait, hold on.